Thank you very much. Okay, so now I request Mr. Manish,
Yes, sir.
chairman the IEEE MTTS, to introduce Dr. Ghosh and start
Yes,
the talk.
okay, sir. So, hello everyone and welcome in today's session. My name is Manish Singh. I am PhD student from IIITDM Jabalpur and current chairperson of IEEE MTTS Student Branch Chapter IIITDM Jabalpur. So, on the behalf of MTTS Chapter IIITDM Jabalpur fraternity, I would like to thank for joining us today's webinar on research and advancement in active frequency selective surfaces by Dr. Saptarshi Ghosh sir. Currently he is an assistant professor in discipline of electrical engineering, IIT Indore. Before that, he was postdoctoral researcher in Chung Ang University, Seoul, South Korea. He has been done his PhD and master degree from IIT Kanpur and bachelor degree from Bengal Engineering and Science University, Sripur, India, which is currently known as Indian Institute of Engineering, Science and Research, Sripur. He has expertise on the field of frequency selective surfaces, microwave absorber, metamaterials, and other periodic structure like polarization converter, electromagnetic shielding, RF absorbers. He has been published more than 80 articles in the reputed transaction letters, journals, and conferences. His articles cited more than 1400 times. He is recipient of many prestigious awards. He is currently managing two projects which is funded by SUBDST at IIT Indore. He is also involved with various professional activities. Currently, is associate editor of IEEE Antenna Wireless Propagation Letter. He is a reviewer of various reputed transaction letters and journals, including AWPL transaction on microwave theory and techniques, and IEEE transaction on electromagnetic compatibility, and so many. Now, I request you all participants, if you have any question during the presentation, then please write down in the chat box. We will bring them up at the end of presentation. So now I would like to request Mr. Saptarshi Ghosh, Dr. Saptarshi Ghosh sir, please take over the session. Yes.
Manish, thank you. Thanks a lot for such nice
Welcome.
introduction. So I'm going to share my screen. So can you please give me the permission to share?
Okay, sir.
Sir, now you can share.
I hope the screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
And also, Manish, I'm just hiding my video to go
Okay,
for
sir.
the better bandwidth. Okay. Otherwise, it will be
Okay.
difficult.
Okay, sir.
So
Okay,
shall I
sir.
start?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Manish. Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. So today, the title of my presentation is the recent advancement in the active frequency selective surfaces, so which is also known as the AFSS. So the presentation we are going to follow in the little bit fashion. Okay. So first we start with the basic overview of the FSS or frequency selective surface. This is mostly a periodic structures which selectively controls the frequency characteristics of the electromagnetic propagation. So when the signal is coming or electromagnetic wave is coming and it is incident on any of the geometry, so then the geometry, based on the geometry shape, pattern, dimensions, it change gives us some different frequencies. As for example, if we can consider, so if you can consider there is a slot type of geometry. So these are the black ones, are the metallic patches, and in between there are some gap are there. So that means that this type of geometry where the slots are available, this is giving some capacitive behavior. And effectively, this overall geometry is presenting one low pass response. That means that it is giving the transmission bandwidth or transmission response at the lower frequency, but the reflection response at the higher frequency. In the opposite way, you can consider when you consider a patch type geometry, where this is the black one, this is the metal, you can consider, and they are connected. So this is giving some high pass response. That means it is giving some transmission response at the high frequency, but the reflection at the low frequency. Now, what will happen if you combine these two geometry together? When you combine these two geometry, like let's consider in the top layer of a substrate, that there is a substrate, the top layer of the substrate, we can consider one metallic loops, or you can consider this is a capacitive part, and in the bottom layer there is inductive wire grid which is giving some inductive response. So the capacitance in the top and the inductance in the bottom, and they are coming in parallel response. So basically we can obtain on band pass response at 9 gigahertz. So here you can consider that by controlling the defined geometrical dimensions of the top metallic loops, a geometrical dimension of the inductive wire grid, here the dielectric substrate thickness, dielectric substrate parameters like the permittivity, loss tangent, etc., and different other parameters we can control, and by controlling those parameters we can control or decide this resonance frequency. That means the frequency of this surface has been controlled, defined by this the defined dimensions or parameters. So in a single word you can consider this is a frequency selective surface. But this concept has come long back. You can consider, if you can consider historical overview, so it has started from 18th century. So at that time in like the 1786, it has been started like physically observed by scientist D. Rittenhouse. So he has checked that at that time that there is a silk handkerchief, and this handkerchief, some of the color of the some of the light portion have been reflected and some of the light has been transmitted. That means the light, particularly the light, red color light has been suppressed, whereas the other color light has been transmitted. So he has checked at that time that based on the threads present in the handkerchief, some of the light which has the different frequency, like the red color has the different frequency, violet color has the different frequencies, some of the frequencies have been suppressed by the thread size, thread intervals, and so on. But other light colors like the violet or other colors, they have been transmitted. So from there he has like observed some in phenomena that light has some frequency selective property, particularly, or the handkerchief has the frequency selective property, which can be like the experimental verified by the light incident. But after that there is a long gap until that in 1999 Marconi has started first experimental develop some concept on the FSS geometry. So he has made some parabolic reflector antenna. So this is the small coaxial antenna. The antenna has been fed from the bottom side, and there is some parabolic wire grid structure have been made where some wire conductors are present. Now, what is the phenomena here, that when these wires conductors have been present in a particular fashion, so based on the interval, based on the length, based on the radius of this wire conductor, which have been present in a semicircular way. So this is giving us some particular resonance frequency, and based on the resonance frequency, the signal reflected will be reflected from the parabolic reflector, and then it will be only transmitted to the front direction. So this basic concept has been rather much more simplified or much more advanced in the current day parabolic reflector. But after that, there is again some significant research was going on, and then Professor Monk in 1974 has first shown some patent on the FSS geometry, which is a two-dimensional geometry. Until that, there is some three-dimensional geometry, and then he had done some three-dimensional geometry, and here he has shown that based on the dx, dz, and all those parameters, a particular frequency can be observed from this frequency. And after that, there is significant advancement are going on, and until 2022, mostly the advancement was limited to the parabolic reflector and similar. And after that, more and more equipment have come up, simulation setups have come up. People have tried to develop different type of FSS-based geometries like filters, absorbers, radomes, absorptive radomes, that means absorbers, shielding applications, antennas, and so on. So we are going to check a few type of FSS geometry, and then we are going to check how these deconfigurable applications can be applied on those structures. So now these are what are the applications of FSS. There are so many applications. We are mostly going to limit ourselves in the microwave related applications or the electromagnetic applications. So like you can consider the radomes, you can use that band pass filter particularly used there based on the frequency selective surface, parabolic reflector, antennas, absorbers, shielding applications, sound absorber, and so on. Now, before going to all those applications, let's try to find the analysis part. So most of you may not go through this type of analysis part beforehand. So let's try to go step by step. How big such a large frequency selective surface is giving us a narrow band pass response or band stop response or absorber response or polarizer response. How to analyze such a large periodic structures. So this is a large periodic structures, let's consider, and here this is the metallic patterns, the square loop metallic pattern you can consider, which have been printed in a periodic way on a FR4 dielectric substrate. So this is the copper metal in the top, and there is FR4 have been used. This is the, you can use them different metal also, different dielectric also you can use, no problem. Only the one metal is there printed on a dielectric substrate. And then at the bottom surface, there is no ground plane is there. Simply this is the metal and the dielectric. And electromagnetic wave is coming from minus z direction. Let's consider there is a normal incidence happening. Electric field is polarized in the y direction, magnetic field is polarized in the x direction. So then how we are going to analyze these large periodic structures? When you are going to analyze the structure in HFSS software or CST or FECO, COMSOL, it is very difficult to analyze that large structure because it is infinitely large in X and Y direction. So then instead of analyzing the entire structure, we are going to analyze only a small geometry. That means the unit cell geometry. There, what we used to do, we put a single unit cell geometry and then we put the periodic boundary condition along X and Y direction. In the plus X and minus X direction, plus Y minus Y direction, we put the periodic boundary condition. And now this periodic boundary condition can be given in different way. In HFSS software, we used to use generally master 1, slave 1, master 2, slave 2. In CST software, we used to give some different type of boundary condition. But the concept is that we consider only one single unit cell geometry, and this unit cell geometry, it around that in the X and Y direction, we give the periodic boundary condition. That means this structure is periodically extended in the X direction, plus minus X, plus minus Y direction, and from minus Z direction or plus Z direction, the signal is coming or signal will be reflected or incident. So here the Floquet port 1 and Floquet port 2, they have been used to indicate that the signal has been incident from minus Z direction or plus Z direction. So in this way, you can consider that this is a two-dimensional geometry. What the two-dimension means, the two-dimensional periodic geometry, or the two-dimensional periodicity is there in the X and Y, and Z direction there is no periodicity, only the thickness is very small, wavelength you can consider. So now, from now onwards, we are going to analyze only the unit cell geometry. We are going to show this only unit cell geometry in the subsequent slides. But that means that we are only analyzing unit cell geometry, but the structure is infinitely large in the X and Y direction. Now let's try to analyze the structure in unit cell. How we are going to analyze this structure? Now this structure, this is a signal is coming from the minus Z direction, electric field, magnetic field polarized along Y and X direction respectively. And how we are going to analyze this structure? When the signal is incident on this structure, some of the incident electromagnetic wave will be reflected back with F1 frequency. Some of the signal will be transmitted through this signal. Now, since there is no ground plane at the back side, so sub signal will be transmitted. If there is some ground plane will be there, everything will be reflected back. But now, since there will be no ground plane, something will be transmitted. Now, therefore, you can consider that some signal will be transmitted, some signal will be reflected. You will give some band pass response at one frequency, you will give the band stop response at one frequency. And when we are just doing some particular simulation, it is found that some band stop response, that means at 9.61 gigahertz, the structure has reflected the signal at 9.61 gigahertz. How the structure is giving the 9.61 gigahertz band stop filter? How we are going to analyze or obtain these structures? Let's go to find this surface current distribution equivalent circuit model. So when you are just analyzing the surface current distribution, assuming that the electric field in the Y direction, if the electric field is polarized in the Y direction, then current will be polarized or current will be moved in the along the Y direction only, like plus minus Y direction. Current will start from bottom side and it goes to the top side in one phase, and in opposite phase, current will move from bottom to downside. Let's see. Just yeah, so here the current will be moving forward. So then if you are checking the surface current distribution, how we are going to find the circuit model? Now here you can see the current will be coming from one end to another end. So now the current is moving from one end to another, so this is giving some inductance effect. So there we can get some inductance effect, L and L inductance effect, and also some inductance you can get some small resistance effect, because that this has some not infinite conductivity. Due to some finite conductivity of copper metal, you can also get some resistance effect. And the current is coming from one unit cell to another unit cell, so then there will be some capacitance will be there at the two ends. So you can find that there circuit model, you can find this type of way. So L and L will be parallel, resistance and resistance will be parallel, these two capacitance will be series. And this D, this will give us the transmission line effect, which is coming from the dielectric substrate. Now, how we are going to simplify this equivalent circuit model? Can we simplify? Yes. This L and L, they are in the parallel. So we are getting the L by 2. So this L1 equal to L by 2. And this R and R, it will come as R1, which will be R by 2. This C and C are in series. So this will also give us the C by 2. So basically, we can obtain one series RLC circuit from the top layer. And there is a dielectric effect is given. Now, you know that when the inductance and capacitance, they are coming in series response, what they are going to give? They're giving some band stop filter. How? Because at the resonance frequency, this inductance, capacitance, their impedance bandwidth, they will getting cancel each other. So basically, it will be behaving as a short circuit response and everything will be reflected back. So a series RLC circuit will give the band stop filter response at a resonance frequency. At the up resonance frequency, it will allow, but at the resonance frequency, it will reflect back. So that's why you can consider, if we consider this type of square loop geometry without any back portion, without any copper back at the surface, it will simply give a band stop filter response from the FSS geometry. Then can we go for the alternative version, how to obtain a band pass filter response? Now let's do the just complementary geometry. The complementary means that you are in the previous case, this is the only metal patch is there, which is printed on the dielectric. Here we are putting the metal slot in between the geometry. Everything will be the metal, in between only one gap will be available. So in the gap, or you can consider this is a slot, except that slot, everywhere there is a metal. So this is the slot based geometry. How the slot based geometry is giving the response? Here, when you consider the same electric field, magnetic field and wave vector will be incident on the structure, so then the current will be propagated. There will be two-way current will be propagated. One is the inside this metal patch, another one is the outside the metal patch. Now here in one phase current will be moved from top to bottom and another phase current will be moved from bottom to top. Now when you check the surface current distribution again for this structure, what we can find? You find that the outer patch, this will giving some inductance and resistance pass as similar like the previous case. And inner patch, there will be the current is coming from the outer one. So there is some gap capacitance will present CC. But in between this metal patch, since this is a very large width and very large length, the inductance from this metal patch inside will be very small. You know the inductance is coming due to the resistance part, how much the resistance will be available as compared to the current change on in this way. But here, this due to this large length, the inductance value will be very small, you can ignore. Even if the inductance will be there will be no change. Basically, that circuit model will be like this. And here the main inductance will be coming outside and the capacitance will be present inside. So basically you see here that this inductance and capacitance, they are in parallel, unlike the previous case. Now, when they are in parallel, what will happen? When this inductance and capacitance will be parallel and when the signal will be coming at the resonance frequency, this inductance and capacitance, they will make the tank circuit. In parallel tank circuit, signal will be transmitted, it will become open circuit. At the resonance signal frequency, all the signal will be transmitted. Nothing will be reflected back. So here you can see opposite phenomenon is happening. That means at the resonance frequency 8.05 gigahertz, signal will be entirely transmitted and there will be no reflection. So thus you can make a band pass filter from a FSS geometry. Very simple concept. You can consider these cases in the subsequent responses also. Now we move to the multiband. Can we go for the multiband, like dual band, triple band FSS geometry you can make? Yes, the concept we can further expand it. How? So if you can consider, so what we have done from the previous two slides, what we have understood, that if this type of patch based geometry will be there, it will give the band stop filter. Not always it will give band stop, but there is a similarity that it has the similarity but tendency that it will give a band stop filter. Similarly, this is a slot based geometry, it will give a band pass filter. Now how to go for the dual band, triple band? Now dual band, triple band means this is the patch based geometry. You go for the dual number of multiple patches. So this is one single square loop, outside there is another square loop. Both the square loop will give us different type of response, different type of resonance frequency based on the inductance and capacitance. All these are in the series. So that's how we will get the two different band stop responses. You see here, this red one will give us the band stop response, and this band stop is the black one is the deflection, red one is the transmission. So at this two frequency, one is close to 6.5, one is close to 13 gigahertz. At this two frequency, there will be no transmission, everything will be reflected back. So this will be behaving as a dual band stop filter based on these two square loops. Now we are considering the complementary geometry, where there are the two slots. Based on the slot, there are some parallel LC circuits are there. To define parallel LC circuit is there. So that's why you're getting the two band pass filter response we can obtain. So I think you are getting the view that how you can obtain some filter response from a FSS geometry. Similarly, you can make some absorber, polarizer, and so on. But before going to the absorber case, why you are particularly useful, or what are the practical application of that? One of the practical application of the filter is that miniaturization concept. That means, now as I've already told you that this FSS filter, they are not a single unit cell geometry. They are present in an infinite unit cell. Now when they are present in an infinite unit cell, like if they are present in infinite unit cell, we have the limitation in the space. Suppose you want to put this type of geometry, one glass window. Now the glass window has some limitation space. You cannot put infinite number of cells. So therefore, people will always try to make the unit cell size smaller. If the unit cell size is smaller, so then in a limited glass window, you can put more number of unit cells. So that's why you can consider that our structure unit cell size should be smaller as much as possible. So that is the advantage you can consider if you use miniaturize. So then it will take the lesser space. More number of unit cells can be fitted in a limited area, and you can like mimic the ideal or infinite configuration in that way. Second option is that your grating lobes will appear delayed. What do you mean the grating lobe? Now, if you know about the angular stability of any of the geometry, these structures, when the signal is coming normal incidence, there will be no problem. But when the signal is coming with some oblique incidence, there might some additional response, additional resonance peaks are coming up. And those additional peaks are depends on the topics on that additional peaks are depend on the unit cell size. So unit cell size depends on. So that's why we particularly require that the size should be very small or as much as possible. So that's why people are doing that miniaturization. How to do the miniaturization? We can go for one step is the fractal geometry. You can do the fractal. That means you see this is the k equal to 0 fractal, only one patch. Then the k equal to 1, once cross dipole. Then the cross dipole order have been slowly increases. Now when the order has been increased, but the unit cell size has been maintained constant. So unit cell size is maintained constant, but the order has been increased. So what will happen? Its resonance frequency slowly in the reducing. What you can understand here that we are not physically reduce the size, but we are electrically reduce the size. It is similar, either you reduce the size physically or you reduce the size electrically. Electrical reduction size means that you are reducing the frequency. That means its wavelength is increasing. Its effective unit cell size in terms of the wavelength is getting reduced. So that's why you can consider that there we are getting the miniaturization here. This is one option by using the fractal. Another option is that you can use this type of convoluted geometry. This is a normal square patch, a square slot. So there you can use this type of meander pattern to get the further resonance reduction. That you can consider further you can cause a convolution. And the last one is that you can use some lamp capacitor or via SIW based geometry to obtain further some miniaturization case. There another option is that don't know why some. Okay, so another some selectivity option is there. So here you can consider this FSS based. Manish, some red color screen is visible here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I don't know how this has come here. Yeah, so let's come to the next topic is that the selectivity. So how you can go in for the selectivity? Selectivity is that when you are going to consider that different types of way to selectivity means that suppose your filter needs very much very small resonance. So here you can consider, you can go for the different types of selectivity. You can consider aperture coupled selectivity. What is that? That this is the one patch is there and another patch bottom, in between there is some aperture or slot is there. Through the slot, these two patches are getting coupled. So in this way, by controlling the different dimensions, you can control the selectivity. Like you can see the width, bandwidth can be increased or reduced. The transmission nulls can be controlled. There are other way of controlling the selectivity. You can use the SIW.
Hello,
Yes.
sir. Could you show the page number 10, sir? Slide number 10, sir. Just once, please.
Is it fine?
Sir, what is fifth one, sir? The third option.
This one actually how we are going to go for the miniaturization. So here you can do the miniaturization by using the SIW or by using the lump capacitor. So this is this C1, C2, they are the lump capacitor. So if you use the lump capacitor is a high value. So how to reduce the miniaturization, how to go for the miniaturization? That means you have to reduce the frequency. How to reduce the frequency? A frequency is the inversely proportional to the capacitance. So here the capacitance value you cannot reduce. So you need to increase the capacitance to reduce the frequency. How to increase the capacitance? You cannot increase the capacitance in this geometry beyond a certain instant. So then if you use some lump capacitor, like this capacitor, we have the 1 picofarad, 2 picofarad, 4 picofarad, 10 picofarad, you can use the lump capacitor. So then your frequency will be greatly reduced. So that's why by using the lump capacitor, you can reduce the frequency or subsequently you can improve the miniaturization. Second option is that these holes are known as the SIW, substrate integrated waveguide. So this is the top layer, this is the bottom layer. If you put this type of multiple number of holes or vias, you can consider, if you use the vias, so this via will give some additional inductive effect, that the SIW concept. So this additional inductance might also reduce the frequency or improve the miniaturization. So by introducing the SIW concept, you can increase the frequency. By introducing the lump capacitor concept, you can increase the capacitance. So in this way, you can obtain the miniaturization. Okay, I hope that little bit clear to you.
Yes,
Let's
sir. Yes, sir.
move to the next slide. So high selectivity. So here I'm going, as I'm telling you that if by controlling the aperture patch coupled resonator, you can control the selectivity. There is another option, as I'm telling you, that SIW concept. SIW is the substrate integrated waveguide technique. Here you can consider that this is the metallic vias are present, and this metallic vias are connected one after layer, another after layer. And by using this SIW concept, you can control the how much you can go for the selectivity. Here you can see for one concept your bandwidth will be very large, so it might not be very good practically applicable. But when you are considering that more and more number of layers, its bandwidth will be highly selective. You need 500 megahertz, you will get exactly 500 megahertz. There is no problem at all. So this is the selectivity you can option. So there are multiple number of layers you can use also. There are some higher order frequency. So this is the single order, this is the single order, but here this is the higher order. Higher order means you can use the inductance layer top, then capacitance layer, then again inductance layer, or vice versa, like the capacitance, inductance, capacitance. So this is the second order response, and you can more and more increasing number of layers you can use. There more and more order can come up, and you can make it much and more selectivity. So in this way, there are two different concepts you can obtain from the using the FSS concept. Now let's come to the absorber concept, FSS based absorber. So what is the absorber name suggesting? As the name is suggesting that absorber, it is giving absorption at the microwave frequency. Since we are mostly focusing on the microwave, so this is giving the or exhibiting the absorption in microwave frequency, either it is the single band or multi-band or broadband. Now how we are going to get the absorption at the microwave frequency? Now let's consider this is a microwave absorber geometry. Here some signal is coming from here. So this is the air. So the signal is coming. This is the incident electric field. When the signal is coming, some portion will be reflected back, some portion will be transmitted. Then what will be the absorption coefficient? Absorption will be the complementarity of the reflected power and the transmitted power. That means when your reflected power and the transmitted power both will be minimum, then only your absorption will be maximum. Or the reflection coefficient and transmission coefficient both has to be become minimized simultaneously. How we are going to minimize both of them simultaneously? One option is that you can put a ground plane at the back surface. You put the ground plane at the back surface, so then there will be no transmission, and then only everything will be left to the reflection only. That means your reflection will be minimum, absorption will be maximum. So how we are going to minimum the reflection? Then we go for the input impedance matching. When you go for input impedance matching, that means when the input impedance of this absorber structure is getting matched with the increasing impedance of air at this interface. That means eta1 equal to eta2. At this case, either it is the normal incidence or oblique incidence. If this is getting matched, your S11 will be equal to 0. And that means deflection coefficient will be 0, as correspondingly you can consider the absorbed will be maximum. So therefore you can consider, if you consider the normal absorber structure or back surface is continuously metal laminated and top surface you go for the impedance matching, then you might obtain an absorber and either narrow band or dual band or single band or broadband in this way. So let's try to find some examples on that case. So before that, so basically the difference is that the filter structure, either you need to minimize reflection coefficient or transmission, but in absorber you need to minimize both reflection as well as transmission coefficient. Then only you have to give the absorption. We are assuming that the diffraction scattering are minimum for both the cases. We are assuming, okay. Now, what are the conventional microwave absorbers? Particularly in the long back, there are so many conventional microwave absorbers are there. Like Salisbury screen is there, Zaumann layer is there, pyramidal absorber is there. I think most of you have seen or known about the pyramidal absorber. But before that Salisbury screen, it has come close to 1950, 52 at that time. At that time, it has come to exhibit some narrowband responses. But narrowband absorption response is not practically viable. So then people go for the Zaumann layer where they obtain the larger bandwidth, but at the expense of increasing thickness. But that is also not a viable, because increasing thickness, you have to increase the thickness continuously to obtain the increasing bandwidth. So then people move to the pyramidal absorber where they have used some lambda of the thickness of the order of lambda to obtain a very wide bandwidth from close to 0 gigahertz to 26 gigahertz or 30 gigahertz and so on. But the disadvantage of the pyramidal absorber is that the thickness is still large of the order of lambda, and it is little bit fragile, bulky, little bit high. So then people are trying to find that, okay, what are the possible alternatives? So then it has found that the FSS based absorber might be a possible alternatives. Why? Because this is ultra thin, its thickness is very small, of the order of lambda by 20. Sometimes it is of the order of lambda by 10, lambda by 5, but not about the lambda. It is at max it go up to lambda 4 for the broadband, but for narrow band, single band, dual band, it goes up to lambda by 20, 30, 50 in this way. And then it is the scalable design. You can make a design at microwave. You can simply move to the terahertz or infrared or millimeter wave by keeping the concept same, only changing the dimension parameters. It can be easily fabricated in microwave frequency by using the PCB etching. You go for the PCB etching, you can easily make all the materials are easily available like metal, dielectric and so on. It is a very much low cost due to availability, like FR4 substrate based metal thing is easily available. So this you can make a normal FSS based absorber. So here everything is similar like the previous FSS based filter, except that we are putting one ground plane at the back surface. So how the equivalent circuit would look like here? So here you can see that this, we have already discussed that this type of square loop will give a series RLC circuit in the top layer. There is a dielectric will give us some transmission line effect, and there is some ground plane will be there, and this ground plane will be giving some short circuit effect you can consider at the back surface. And here, due to the transmission line, there will be due to the transmission line ending, the termination with the ground plane, there will be no transmission at the S21 will be 0, only absorbed will be equal to complement of the S11. So there you can find that this structure will be either giving some narrowband reflection or almost unity absorption. So these two structures you can consider responses are 1-to-1 corresponds. At a particularly 5 gigahertz, this structure is giving a reflection dip. That means there is no reflection at this point. Since there is no transmission, so reflection is not here. That means your absorption will be high. So in the coming slides, we are going to show either this one response or another response. Either we can showing the reflection coefficient dip, or we can show the absorption coefficient maximum. So both are equal, or you can consider both are like similar to one another. So there you can find, we can consider this is the narrowband absorber. Now let's consider the same single band, dual band microwave absorber. How can we can obtain? So this is the single band narrowband absorber. We have already discussed about that. So here put the backside as a copper. So then your S21 will be completely 0, and then you will obtain the absorbability. So here you can plot this. The reflection coefficient, the magnitude, it is giving close to 0.1, 0.01. Then at the same time, you are getting the absorbability at the almost at the same frequency range. So how we are going to go for the single band to dual band? Dual band, you can keep the concept same. As I have already told you, the concept we can keep the same. only the designs can be made scalable. Like we can consider different type of geometric dimensions, like 1 and 4, they are the same dimension, they are giving one resonance frequency. 3 and 2, they have the defined geometric dimension, they have the desired defined frequencies, and then they are giving some defined absorption frequencies. By changing any of these dimensions, you can change any of the absorption frequencies, or other absorption frequency can be remain constant. Now from the dual band, we can go for the bandwidth enhancement also. Like how that we can consider that these two are the unit cell size, these two are the another unit cell size. One unit cell size we can keep constant, another unit cell size we can make in such a way that these two resonant frequencies will be bringing very close to each other. When they are bringing very close to each other, these are giving some broadband absorber, like bandwidth enhancement you can consider. But it has been found that it is very difficult to obtain the bandwidth enhancement beyond a certain distance. So then we can go for a broadband absorber by considering the lambda register. So you can consider this type of lambda register concept, and this lambda register you can be able to put in the square loop. So similar concept is already there. This is a square loop geometry is there. In between earlier case, there will be no lambda register have been mounted, but here the lambda register have been mounted here, and this lambda register has very high ohmic loss, and that's why it is giving a wide absorption bandwidth. Like here you can see close to 4 gigahertz or above 4 gigahertz absorption is obtained, and which the absorption will be above 90%. Here it is only 0.42 gigahertz, and that is also only above 50% when you are considering. Above 90% absorptivity will be very less, but here we are getting the absorptivity above 90%, above 4.2, like close to 4.2 gigahertz frequency. So in the subsequent analysis, we are mostly going to use this lambda register based broadband absorbers particularly. So now let's go for the further, we can go for that microwave reconfigure. So since this topic is mostly about the reconfigurable geometries, now let's try to focus on the reconfigurable options, reconfigurability, or how the reconfigurable options you can go for that. Now, what are the need for the reconfigurable absorbers? Till now, what we have shown you in the previous cases, like all those structures are the passive absorbers or the passive geometries. The passive geometries have the advantage is that they can be easily made. They do not need any biasing circuit. But disadvantage is that they can be made for only for one applications only. Like this is the absorber geometry. You can make it for only of the broadband. You cannot make it for the narrowband absorber, or you cannot make it for the filter geometry. Second thing is that the same concept, the geometry has any fabrication damage or any fabrication tolerance, you cannot change it to other cases. Experimental error will be there, so then the fabric structure will be get damaged. Like here you can consider, but in the reconfigurable absorber, if you have the tuning opportunity, you have the scale switching opportunity, you can change the reconfigurable option, you can change the absorber response even after post fabrication. So there you can change the active absorber even after, like the through external stable you can consider. So here you can consider that the defined types of that reconfigurable absorbers are there, like magnetically reconfigurable absorber, mechanically or electronically, and so on. So electronically, so here we are mostly going to focus about the electrically controlled absorber, reconfigurable absorbers. How? So there is the pin diodes, varactors, they are mostly used for the reconfigurable absorber. So how these pin diodes and varactor diodes have the efficiency as compared, like have the advantage as compared to other cases? Like they have the very small size, have there the compact size, the cost is comparatively lower, they have the easier to handle, they have the high tuning speed, like the tuning speed or swing speed is very high, like the of the order of within the 0.1 nanosecond we can tune for one state to another state, which is not possible with the mechanical or magnetical or other type of tuning things. We can go for wideband tuning, like you can go for tuning from 1 gigahertz to 4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, even 10 gigahertz also. But it is very difficult to tune in the such large widening range in the mechanical or electronically or magnetically. So mostly we are going to focus on the electronically reconfigurable absorbers in today's seminar, and they are based on that defined types of concept. We are dividing them into 3 ways. One is the switchable absorber oblique reflector, one is the switchable absorber, another one is the tunable absorber. How they are defined from one another, let's try to find them step by step. The switchable absorber oblique reflector geometry, as the name is suggesting, this is giving absorption in one concept and reflection in another steps. There are 2 defined conditions will be there, and these 2 defined conditions in one step will giving the reflection, this red one, blue one, and another one it will giving the reflection. How? So let's consider a simple pretty example. If you have the passive geometry, how we are going to obtain this type of switchable geometry? So then let's consider this the passive geometry. In the passive geometry, let's consider this is a one ER-shaped topology. In this topology, you can consider there is some resonance frequency happening, and this resonance frequency, due to some connection in between the central portion, it will giving some reflection deep. That means there is some absorption happening at 10.5 gigahertz, and the structure has been fabricated here. And then in the off structure, you can consider there will be no, also gap has been made, and due to this gap, there will be no resonance. You can see from this current, there will be no excitation here, where there is excitation. So that means this type of structure, there is complete reflection happening. So there you can find that there is based on the two different fabricated structures or two different structure, we are obtaining two different response. One is giving some reflection or one is giving some absorption. Now the question is that these two structures are giving two different structures, giving two different response. They are the passive geometry. How we are going to combine these two different response in a single geometry? That is the question. Now how we are going to combine? That is can be done by using the pin diode cases. How we are going to use the pin diode? A pin diode, I think all of you know that pin diode has the two different steps. One is the on state, which is giving some small resistance, and another one the capacitance, which is giving some large capacitance we add that during the off state. So we can use the pin diode, and by changing the off and on state by from the like external voltage, by changing the external voltage, you can go for the different type of response. How? Let's consider the same geometry, and inside the geometry in the center position, instead of putting the connector, we putting some diode. Now when you put the diode, what will happen? During the on state, this diode will giving the small resistance value. So this is almost behaving as a short circuit condition. And during the off state, this diode is giving some capacity effects. So this is similarly behaving as a gap. So that means you can consider that during the on state, it will be behaving as a short circuit. During off state, it will be behaving as an open circuit. So there, when you use the diode, you can also obtain the similar response in one condition, or in the on state, you will giving the perfect like absorption, and off state you will giving the perfect reflection. But then but the next question will be the how we're going to use the diode in the geometry. Because okay, so why not ordinary pin diode? Pin diode you can use, but they have some more and more function in the PN diode, but you can also use the normal PN junction diode also. Now the question is coming that how can you use the diode without the external source? Because the normal PN junction diode or normal PIN, or like intrinsic layer based PN junction diode, they need some external voltage source. So you need external voltage source which needs to be connected across the pin diode, and this pin diode, when the voltage source will be more than the its cutoff voltage, then it will be turned on. When the voltage will be lesser than the cutoff voltage, then it will be turned off. So then based on it, will be giving some on state and off. How we are going to connect them? Now let's consider this is the single unit geometry. The diodes are present here in this way. Now this is the voltage source. How we are going to connect the voltage source here? The simple solution is that you put the positive voltage source here, negative source here. So these are the connected in this way. And you can simply consider that voltage will be, when this voltage will be connected, it will be giving the on voltage on source, and when the voltage source will be less than 1 or less than the cutoff voltage, will giving the like unconnected. But the problem is very much difficult when you talk about the frequency electric surface, because as I have told you, the frequency electric surface is a active geometry. It is not a like it is the, you can consider the periodic geometry. The periodic geometry, there is not a single unit cell. There are multiple number of unit cell geometries are there. And how we are going to use the multiple number of unit cell geometry, and how we are going to connect them independently in the defined cases. So there, the one option is that one feasible option is that you can connect them together through these bias lines, and you can put, instead of single 1 volt, you can put the 4 volt you can consider, and this based on this 4 volt, all that can be simultaneously turned on, and you can make them, and if the voltage will be less than 1, all this will be turned off. So in this way, you can use the biasing to regulate the diodes from remote locations. So let's consider this is a one example. So this same example is there. So what we have already explained in the little bit beforehand. So here the diode have been put in there, and then some inductors are present, and this diode have been connected to the BR and from the bottom surface, and the signal is coming up. During the on state, the diode will be turned on. During off state, diode will be turned on. And in this way, you can obtain defined response. At this particularly 11 gigahertz, you can see that one is giving the perfect absorption, that the reflection dip. Another one is giving the perfect reflection. The structure have been fabricated, and as well as it is measured here. So this will be a measurement is done. But there will be, you can consider the disadvantage of this structure is that this structure is giving us the asymmetrical design. Only it will work for a particular electric field direction, not for all the electric field directions. How can we make a polarized insensitive design? There we can go for this type of simple symmetrical design. Now, so this is a square loop geometry, and these square loops are connected to each other through the diagonal, and the diodes are present in the diagonal in this way. So what is the advantage, or how we are going to make the switchable absorber reflector from this geometry? Now, if you closely look this equivalent circuit model of this geometry, you can find that the current is moving from one square loop to another square loop through these pin diodes. Now, when the pin diodes are turned off, that means when the pin diodes have the less, when the voltage across the pin diodes are less than the cutoff, so then this pin diode is giving some capacitive response. But when these pin diodes are turned on, so then all these pin diodes will be giving some inductive response and the resistive response. Now, if you closely look in the equivalent circuit, you found that during the on state, there will be no capacitance present in the top layer. Only the inductance and resistance, inductance and resistance. But on the other side, during off state, there will be capacitance is there. Now, if you need the resonance frequency for absorption or reflection, you need some capacitance. Without the capacitance in the top layer, how you are going to get the resonance frequency? So therefore, during the on state, no capacitance is there, and effectively your structure will giving us perfect reflection. But during the off state, your capacitance will be present, one resonance frequency will be created, and you can find some narrowband absorption is there at 3.71 gigahertz. So there, by absence or by the presence of the capacitance in the top layer, we can make a switchable absorber or reflector from this geometry. The structure, how we are going to make this structure particularly. So here you can see that this structure has been made in such a way the biasing network you need. As I have already told you, that without the biasing network, you cannot make this diode activated. How this structure will be biasing network will be done. So here you can see that this current will be there. Let's consider this has been connected to the positive part of the one voltage source. This has been connected to the negative part of the another voltage source. Now, when the signal is coming from here, signal is coming here, and this is passing through all the diodes in a parallel connection. And when this signal is passing through the parallel connection, all the diodes will be simultaneously turned on, all the simultaneously turned off. So there, this type of biasing network, they have the parallel biasing configuration. So this is the one good advantage is that all the diodes have the in parallel connection. Parallel connection is meant that you don't require that very high voltage. You need only one voltage across this plus and minus, so that all the diodes will be simultaneously turned on. Second option is that, second advantage is that if suppose one diode gets damaged due to some fabrication, due to some misalignment, due to some missoldering, so then also the structure will still work, because the signal, it cannot pass through the damaged diode, but it can pass through the other diodes. So that means the fabrication tolerance or the experimental error due to the mishandling of the structure will be greatly reduced. So this type of parallel biasing is very much advantageous. And note that here there will be one problem might come up, how we are going to control the isolation between the direct current and the alternating current. Alternating current or RF signal is coming from the outside, and the direct current is coming from the voltage source. So then we have to use some very small biasing lines, small width biasing line or inductors, and this inductor small width biasing line, they actually isolate the alternating frequency from the direct frequency. See, the alternating frequency, they cannot pass through these inductors, and this is only located or only localized in the particular geometry as required. On the other side, direct can flow through entire geometry, and this can regulate or this can excite the diodes as required. So the structure has been fabricated, and then it has been measured as well, and it is found that the measured response are also in agreement with the geometry. Then we move to the broadband concept. Here you see the switchable response is happening, switchable absorber or reflector response is happening, but this is happening for the narrowband case. But then how we are going to go for the broadband? The broadband geometry, the concept is very much similar. Here you can see that the square loop is there. Everything is similar. Diodes are present in the diagonal way, except that here the lump resistor have been present in the geometry. This lump resistor, it is absorbing the electromagnetic wave over a wide frequency range and giving the switchable concept. The concept remaining same. It is giving the off state there is capacitance, on state there is no capacitance, on state there is reflection, off state there is a broadband absorption, and we can obtain the broadband switchable absorber oblique reflector. So there are multiple number inductors have been connected in series so that to block the alternating signal or RF signal from passing through the DC voltage for the entire frequency range. And also it has been fabricated and measured also. Now we have already done explaining the one concept, that is a switchable absorber oblique reflector. Now we coming to the next topic, which is the switchable absorber. How is this topic? So that topic, as the name is suggesting, is that the switchable absorber is that it can exhibit the absorption response in both the frequency bands. Here we are also using the pin dot, but in the previous case, one option is that in the previous case, one is the reflection, another one is the absorption. But here it has the giving the absorption in both the cases. One simple example is that you can consider this is the unit cell geometry, and this unit cell geometry is connected to the diodes, and when you can check here with that, you can find that it is giving some on state one resonance frequency, off state another resonance frequency. That means the structure is giving the resonance frequency or the absorption in both the conditions. So that's why switchable absorber absorption response is changing from one frequency to another frequency. And here also we are using the pin diodes. But the question is there that in the previous cases we are using the pin diodes to obtain switchable absorber oblique reflector. But here we are using the switchable absorber, and here also we are using the pin dot, but absorption is happening in both the conditions. Why? Why is that? If you look in the equivalent circuit model, you can find the reason. The case is that when you closely look in the equivalent circuit, this individual unit cell geometry, they are giving actually series RLC circuit. This individual geometry, and the diode is giving some capacitance off state and resistance in the on state. That means the structure itself has already some resonance frequency generated from the structure itself. The structure is giving some capacitance, inductance, and resistance in the itself, and that's why, unlike the previous case where there is no capacitance is there, but here some capacitance is coming from the structure itself. It doesn't matter whether the diode is connected or not. So the structure itself is giving the resonance frequency. When the diode is off, so then this is giving some additional capacitance, frequency is changing. When the diode is on, so then there is no capacitance, the frequency is changing. So that's why there is a change in the absorption frequency due to the value change in the capacitance value due to the presence of the diode. So there is similar concept have been done by or have been presented by another group of researchers, but both the geometry, either this one or this one, both the geometry are giving the polarization sensitive concept. That means the work is happening or the response is happening showing only for the only one polarization when the electric field is parallel to the diode. But how we are going to make the polarization insensitive? We can use this type of concept, cross dipole geometry. We can put the diodes in a cross dipole patterns and we can obtain. Here the diodes have been connected to the ground plane through the metallic vias. How the structure is giving the switchable response? If you closely look in the surface current geometry, here you can find some new concept. How? That when the diodes are connected in the short circuit, or when the diodes are turned as a short circuit, or when the diodes are in the on state, so then the diodes are giving some short circuit value, and then the current will be conducting through the entire cross dipole geometry. On the other side, when the diodes are becoming the off state, like giving the capacitance, then the current cannot pass across the diode. So then their current will be limited in the smaller unit cell geometry or smaller size. So here the effective inductance is getting reduced, while the effective inductance is very large. So inductance is getting reduced because of the presence of the diode on state or off state. And due to the change in the inductance value, your frequency is getting changed. So that's why your frequency is changing or switching from 2.75 to 4.56 due to the change in the biasing state. So the structure has also been fabricated. Here also the diodes in the parallel condition. So that's why only a very small amount of voltage is required to turn on all the diodes. It has been fabricated as well as measured. But here if you see, the diodes is giving the switchable response, and the response is in the narrow band of type. How we are going to get in the broadband switchable response? For that we have done another type of switchable broadband absorber. So here the concept has been done in which way? That there is a top layer, there is a middle layer, and the bottom ground layer. So top layer, there is a square loop geometry similar like the previous cases. The lamp resistor have been put there. Middle layer, there is a pinned out enabled layer, and bottom layer, there is a complete ground plane. So what will happen if you see closely looking in the equivalent circuit? What you can find? You found that the top layer square loop geometry is giving the inductance, capacitance, and resistance, similar like the previous case. The middle layer, which has the diodes are present. Already you know that when the diodes are giving this type of geometry, there is no capacitance. When the diode is on state, it is giving only the inductance and resistance. So basically, this middle layer, at the presence of the diode, there is no capacitance is there. Only inductance and resistance is there. It will be behaving as a ground plane, or you can consider this behaving as a adaptive ground plane. Why adapted? Because this is not the actual ground plane, but due to the on state condition of the diode, this is giving some. Your ground plane is effective or adaptive ground plane is giving, and that's due to this adaptive ground plane you can consider that the effective thickness or effective height of the layer has been reduced significantly to H1. But what will happen when the diodes are in the off state? Then it is giving the capacitance, and due to the presence of capacitance, some resonance will be there, and the signal will be passed through the response, and signal will pass through them and will be reflected back from the original ground plane. So now for the doing the off state, your effective ground plane have been increased size. So one case it is the H1, one case it will H1 plus H2. So your effective height is changing, and due to change in the effective height, your absorption bandwidth is also changing. In one condition, when the effective height is very large, then the frequency will be shifted to the lower frequency like bandwidth. When the absorption bandwidth will be, thickness will be smaller, then the bandwidth will be shifted to the higher frequency. So in this way, you can consider the broadband switchable absorber. Then this structure has been fabricated as well as it has been measured. Then we move to the tunable absorber concept. As the name is suggested, this is the until the switchable concept. There the topic is that the structure is giving the only the 2 stages, but here this is giving the infinite number of stages by using the varactor diode. Earlier case we are using the pin diode, here we are using the varactor diode. Varactor diode has the junction capacitance which can be variable by using the varactor reverse voltage. Pin diode it is
मेरी
operating
बेटी
in
पूरा जोगन बनी हुई है, गले में रुद्राक्ष का माला पहनी है और पूरा पूरा पाठ कर रही है। साला पता नहीं कहाँ होगी, हमको लग रहा है मठ में ज्वाइन कर ले, राधे माना बन जाएगी।
Who is this? Please mute your video. Please mute your audio, please. Who is this? I request to please mute your audio. So the noise is coming from background.
I think
Mr. Prabhakar. Who is the Prabhakar?
okay. So I hope that I can resume. So now if you can consider the varactor, so this varactor has the junction voltage is there. So this junction voltage is there. You can consider that the reverse voltage, you can remove that, you can change the reverse voltage, and by changing the reverse voltage, you can control the junction capacitance. And by changing the like you can consider. So how? Let's consider a simple example you can consider. So here there are the 2 universal geometries are there, in between the varactor is connected. And now by changing the capacitance varactor diode, by changing the varactor voltage, by changing the varactor voltage through this bias line, you can change the capacitance voltage by the capacitance, and by changing the capacitance, your overall resonance frequency can be changed. By changing, like by increasing the varactor voltage, your junction capacitance will be reduced, and junction capacitance will be reduced, to overall frequency will be increased. So in this way, you can see that when you increase the varactor voltage or the reverse bias voltage, the slowly your absorption frequency will be increased to the higher side. In this way, you can use the varactor diode to change the absorption frequency in a discrete number of steps from one step to another step. Now most go for that from single, but this is the polarization sensitive case. If you go for the polarization insensitive geometry, how to make it? So this is the square loop geometry is there. These are the polarization symmetric geometry, and the diodes have been connected in a symmetrical way. When the diodes have been connected in a symmetrical way, and then if you just put them in a biasing way, you can find that the structures, if you can consider that the varactors are there. So when you change the varactor voltage, so then your resonance frequency or the capacity will be changing from here, and by changing the capacity voltage, slowly your absorption frequency has been changed. So here you can see that the tuning range is close to 70% is that. But previous case, the tuning range is approximately 20 to 25%, but here that have been greatly increased. But this tuning range can also be increased. How we are going to further increase the tuning range? The problem is that, so the case is that you have the varactor diode. So this varactor diode, we can change the varactor value with some other varactors, and we might change the tuning range. But the problem lies not with the varactor diode. Problem lies with the geometry. Why? Now, if you closely look in the equivalent circuit model or this type of geometry, you can see that this is the capacity, or this is the capacitance which is coming from the geometry, and this is the varactor capacitance which is coming from the varactor diode. Now, generally, this varactor diode capacitance, its value is close to of the order of picofarad, like 36.4, or in this way you can consider very high value of picofarad is there. But this capacitance which is coming from the geometry, this is the parasitic capacitance or the distributed capacitance, whose value is very small, of the order of femtofarad. Now this femtofarad capacitance is coming with the series with the picofarad. Now when these two capacitance will be connected in series, so then the overall capacitance value will be of the order of femtofarad, because very small will be there. So therefore the varactor capacitance will not matter at all. it will be changing the overall capacitance value, but the overall capacitance value will only changing with the in the order of the femtofarad only. So therefore, the problem is not with the varactor. The problem is that the presence of this this parasitic capacitance from the geometry. How we are going to read off this parasitic capacitance? We can go for this is the prober structure fabrication. So we go for this type of geometries. So there you can consider this is the two square loops are there. In between two square loops, you can see that the varactor have been connected in this way. When the varactor have been connected in this way, the current will be flowing through the varactor directly, and from one loop to another loop, there is no extra capacitance is there. Only the capacitance is present from the varactor only, and there are some inductance and resistance coming from the geometry. So what will happen? It depends on your varactor diode only. If the diode has a very large capacitance, you can go for a wide tuning range and so on. That can also be verified from the surface current. The current is coming from one layer and it is moving through one layer to bottom layer. And here you can find that it is going through the varactor diode, and there will be no such different capacitance coming from other way. So now when you checked here, you found that the range will be changing from 71% in earlier case close to 200% in this geometry, because of this particular change in the geometry and configuration. The structure has also been fabricated, and this fabrication has also been done, and it has been supported with the experimental verification also. So now we have already done with the three stages, like one is the switchable absorber oblique reflector, one is the switchable absorber, another one is the tunable absorber. Now we are almost coming to the verge of the completion of the FSS based filters. Now what is the active tunable or the FSS based microstep filters? Now we are trying to show some reconfigurable geometries. Like already we have shown the reconfigurable absorbers. Now we have come to the reconfigurable filters. Like the first is the switchable filters, second one is the tunable filters. What is the switchable filters? As the name is suggested, switchable filter is giving us the band stop or band stop responses, and the pin diode we are going to use based on the pin diode concept. Either in one condition it will giving the transmission response, in other condition it will give the reflection responses. Like let's consider this is a very simple geometry. This is square loops are there and these diodes are connected. This is the pin diode. So this pin diode, one part, this will be connected with the positive voltage source, another part is connected with the negative voltage source. And then when you turn on the voltage of the pin diode, it will be in the positive side, it will give some response, and other case it will giving the some deferred response. Now here you see the square loop, this is giving some series RLC circuit, and this pin diode either giving capacitance or resistance. And there you can see that during the off state of the pin diode is giving the perfect reflection, but during on state it is giving the perfect transmission. So transmission coefficient is showing, and due to on state there is no perfect transmission. There are some band stop responses coming up, and there some particularly modification have been done in the geometry significantly in the simultaneously in the subsequent days. So then what the people have done, they have made that geometry in such a way the diode have been put in that across the slot only. So then there will be no need to put the biasing in a complicated way. Then they have made a convoluted geometry to make more and more reducing the resonance frequency. This has been biasing circuit had been done. So here the biasing circuit extended for the across the unit cells, but here the biasing circuit is present only at the outside. So this way a little bit easier to design the biasing circuits in this way. And the scattering response is similar. In one condition the transmission is full, and another condition there is no transmission, band stop filter is coming up. And then this is also the switchable response, but particularly for that case when the electric field is along the diodes. But when the electric field is vertical direction on the other polarization, it will not give the responses. For that, let's go for some polarized insensitive response. So here you can see that this is the symmetrical geometry you can consider. Concept is similar, that there are 4-fold symmetric diodes are there, that they are in one case it is giving the band stop response, one case it is giving the band pass responses. There are different cases. This has been biased in this way. One voltage is connected here, and some inductor have been connected to isolate the RF signal from the DC signals. And then we move to the tunable special filters. Tunable, that means that in the switchable case we are using the pin diodes, tunable case we are using the varactor diode, and there are multiple number of steps are there, as I already told you. Like let's consider the very simple geometry. Here you can see this is the one varactor diode is present, some biasing network is there, some capacitance is there, and here through the varactor the current is flowing, and you can see the current surface equivalent circuit model. That there is some varactor, this is giving some variable capacitance, some series RLC circuit is there, some dielectric is giving some transmission line effect. By changing the varactor diode voltage, we can control the overall resonance frequency, and the structure giving some band pass responses. Now here you can see, as I've already told you previously, that when RLC circuit is present in a series way, it will giving the band stop response. So that's why you can see this is the tunable band stop filter is giving up, while the tuning is happening from 2.4 or 2.5 to 2.7 gigahertz to up to 3.6 gigahertz. So in this we can found that this is the tunable band stop filter is giving up. Now here this is the polarization insensitive because the structure is asymmetrical. Only to give the band stop filter when the electric field is propagating in the perpendicular, in the vertical direction. So let's move to the insensitive direction. The structure you can make a switchable, or you can make in this way. So here the people have used one concept where they have put the two layers. The top layer, the geometry is one type. Bottom layer, the geometry will be in the orthogonal direction. And when they combine them together, this is giving one type of band stop filter. And this is you can consider the polarized insensitive response. So this is the band stop filter you can consider. But the disadvantage is that for this type of geometry is little bit, it is coming, it is using two diodes or something, but it is coming out the two layers is coming. We can go for the single layer also. We can put a single layer geometry, and we can go for the single layer band stop filter also. The concept remains same, using the varactors, and they're giving the tunable response from one frequency another frequency. Now we can go from single band to dual band. So dual band, we can go for the dual band response by utilizing the two layers, the top layer and the bottom layer. Top layer, there is a one set of resonance frequency. Bottom layer, there is another set of resonance frequency. Top layer is giving from 1.5 to 2.25. Bottom layer is giving from 2.5 to 3.5. And they can be separately tuned, because top layer we can give the voltages separately. Bottom layer we can give the voltage separately. There is no connection between the top layer and bottom layer, and we can tune the bottom layer separately as compared to the top layer, and vice versa. Then there is another one, which is the last concept you can consider. This is the wideband tunable special filter. So how it is happening? Here we can consider that the diodes have been connected in between such a way that there is no capacitance is available. Here also the capacitance is available. So that's why the overall capacitance, the parasitic capacitance is coming with the diode capacitance, and that's why the tuning range is less. But here the diode capacitance is only capacitance available. There is no capacitance is there. That's why you see the concept here, the tuning range is large, is increasing so much. Here the concept is similar. The geometry is almost similar here, and here the geometry is almost similar. The difference is that here there is no parasitic capacitance or no distributed capacitance is present from the geometry. Only the capacitance is coming from the diode. And that's why the tuning range is coming almost very large, 362% or 373%, which is very large. It has been fabricated as well as it is measured, experimentally verified also. Now we come to almost in the end. So then there is the other reconfigured FSS. Till now I have only talked about the electronically controlled reconfigured geometries, while we are using the diodes and other geometries. But how we are going to make other type of reconfigured geometries, like magnetically tuned, like FSS geometries. Like here you can consider that this is the magnetically tuned geometries. So there are some magnetic material you can use, and you can go for this type of geometry. You can use the ferrite based structures, or you can use the ferrite geometry. Ferrite is which is the magnetically active structures. So there, by controlling the magnetic permeability across the geometry, we can slightly tune the magnetic permeability of the substrate, and your resonance frequency can be changed. But here you can see again, as I'm telling you that previously, that since the magnetic part or the mechanical part, they have the lower amount of the tuning. So that's why the tuning response is very small. So then we move to the magnetically tuned special filter. Here we can control the magnetically, we can change the different type of positions, and the resonance frequency can be changed. There are some pressure driven, some switchable responses there, where you can consider the injection or extraction of the liquid metal, and based on the injection or extraction of the liquid metal, some switchable meta surface or the switchable frequency selective surface can be geometry. And then we move to the liquid crystal based geometry. The liquid crystal is present between the top layer and bottom layer, and by giving the voltage across the liquid crystal, the dipoles can be oriented according to the particular fashion. And by changing the dipole orientation, the tunable absorber response can be controlled. There is another concept, there is the graphene based geometry. By controlling the graphene resistivity or the graphene reactivity, we can also change the absorption coefficient or absorption frequency of this graphene based absorber. But mostly these liquid crystal and the graphene based absorbers, their response are very much little found in the microwave. They're mostly giving the absorption responses in the higher frequency like the terahertz or infrared domain and so on. So now we are moving to the almost domain. So now let's come to the next part. What is the next? What are the recent advancement? How we have shown you different types of FSS geometries, active geometries, passive geometries, reconfigurable geometries. What is the next part we can consider? Now, this is the recent concept people are working with, is the reflective intelligence surface. What is the reflective intelligence surface? Till now, what I have shown you that all these geometries you can find that all the varactor diodes have been connected with one another, or with in such a way that we are giving the voltage at one portion and giving the negative voltage and positive voltage at the two ends, and we are controlling all that varactors. But here, all the varactors have been controlled in a similar fashion. It is not that the one varactor is controlling in different way, another varactor is controlling in similar other way. So all the varactors have the similar amount of the voltage, all the varactors are same, all the varactors are giving a similar response, and in this we can obtain a tunable facial filter. But can we change or can we individually control a varactor? Like, can we individually control one varactor in a particular fashion from the other varactor which is present a little bit away or further away? That you can consider the reflective intelligence surfaces. How? So here you can consider that now with the more and more higher communication or advanced communication are coming up, people are talking about the reflective intelligence surface. That is a surface which is reflective, but at the same time it has some artificial intelligent concept, or it has the AI concept. That means suppose we have the based on the purpose, based on the application, same surface can be used for different purposes. Like one, suppose you need to contact with this with these devices and there is some one. So then this surface or this reflective intelligence surface, this can reflect the signal to this domain. Now what we consider that there is the two legitimate users are there, user 1 and user 2, and the signal is coming from here. And now in normal scenario, the signal will be transmitted from this transmitter and the signal will come to the legitimate user 1 and 2. But then at the same time, the signal will go to the another one who is not a legitimate user or evastogram. So then how we are going to restrict the signal to go, not to go to there, but it should go only to the legitimate user 1 and 2. Second one is that how we are going to control the similar way. So there are different types of phenomena, like how we are going to for the D2, like the device to device communication you can go, and how we are going to go for more and more IoT, like Internet of Things communication is there. And there the basics is coming up in this way that we cannot consider a single unit cell as we cannot like consider that all these unit cell geometries are in a similar fashion. We have to consider that some of the unit cell have been controlled in some way, other unit cell can be controlled in some other way, and this way you can consider the reflective surface. Maybe it will be a transmittive surface, but the surface will itself as intelligent one, or based on some artificial intelligence concept, based on the IoT requirement, so that it will give us some requirement as desired. So here you can consider the different type of microcells, different type of tunable elements are there. So one is the unit cell geometry is there, but there is a supercell you can consider which is consisting of different type of unit cell, and based on our like requirement, some of the unit cell will be activated, some of the unit cell will not be activated, and will give us the desired communication. So let's consider how we are going to achieve those cases. Recently, MIT, they have designed this type of prototypes. So they are almost close to the 3,000 number of antennas are there here, antenna elements are there, and all these antenna elements have been connected at the back side through some particular prototypes, through some communication chain. And by controlling those communication chains by using the microprocessor and so on, they have able to design such model so that the signal when coming to this and they're going to reflect it back from the signal, they're going to reach to defined portion, defined direction, defined position, defined location. Even it can be completely absorbed, it can be completely transmitted, completely reflected back in different way based on that communication chain. So can you think of this type of advantage in the coming days? So let's see if you have any idea from here, and you can start your research from this domain. So thank you from my side. If you have any doubts, let me know.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saptarshi Ghosh sir. I hope you all enjoyed this amazing presentation. Now Dr. Saptarshi Ghosh sir will answer some questions that were sent us during the presentation. So the first question is, from Anil Rajput. The question is, sir, if we connect the diode in any circuit and if we give the biasing through the track line, is it make any effect in current distribution across the structure?
Yes, exactly. Most of the time there will be some distribution will be there. So let's consider, try to explain you in this way. So there you can see this geometry. There will be two geometries are there. So one geometry is this geometry. I think the screen is visible. So one geometry is this geometry. Here the diodes have been connected here and the signal have been passed through this there. So now there are two types of current is there. One is the RF signal based current, alternating current, or the time harmonic or time varying current, and the one is the direct current. So direct current is coming from the voltage source is the positive terminal and it goes to the negative terminal, and the direct current amount is very small because you are giving only 1 volt or something or 1.2 volt or something. So direct current voltage will be very small. So direct current will not affect much. But the problem is there, your alternating current, the time varying current, which is generating from the RF signal, that is flowing through this biasing network, and that might sometimes create the problems. So therefore, your biasing network have to be designed in such a way that it should not hamper or it should not restrict or it should not disturb your design. So then there will be two solutions, two options you can consider. One option is that you can make the biasing configuration embedded inside the geometry. How? That means you see, if this geometry you can consider here, the varactor diodes have been connected and they are all the biasing configuration is embedded. So here the inner square loop is connected through this metallic via to the ground plane, and the outer geometry is connected through this metallic patch. Now what you can find is all these metallic patches from one unit cell to the another unit cell, they are connected with each other. So basically you can consider all these varactors, one end is connected with each other through this outer side metallic patch, and all the other part of the varactors are connected through this metallic via to the ground plane. That means we are not using any biasing line here. We are only using this type of particular geometry to give or to provide the embedded biasing network. That means the biasing network is itself embedded inside the geometry. And here if you see that particularly the geometry, we are only giving the biasing network here. In the top layer, there is a one positive terminal. Bottom layer, there is another negative terminal connected with the ground plane. Ground plane is the metal. So therefore, you can see there is no additional biasing network is there. So therefore, you can consider that this is the embedded biasing network. That is one option or the one solution to get rid of the effect. Second solution, if you cannot control the biasing network, because this is also depend on the application you are using. So then what you are going to do? So then you have to use this type of cases, like you have to make the biasing line width very small, so that the biasing line width will be, why you are going to make the biasing line width very small? If the width will be very small, so then this biasing line itself will be behaving as a distributed inductance, and then you are also using some inductance. So now you know that inductance will restrict the direct that alternating current, but it will pass the direct current. So therefore, if you use these metallic lines very narrow, and you use these metal inductors in such a way that this metallic inductors or metallic lines, they will restrict the alternating current. So then alternating current will not flow this biasing line. It will only flow this unit cell geometry, whereas the direct current will flow through these metallic lines. So this is another way you can consider. But at the same time, I will always suggest everyone that you please include these biasing lines in your simulation geometry, because sometimes there will be some unprecedented thing might happen when you do the fabrication and measurement. So always you do or you include the biasing lines in your simulation, and you do the checking during the simulation only. And if you need that, okay, there are some response problem is there due to the biasing line, so then you have to make the biasing line in such a way that it will give the reduce the problem. The problem will be reduced. I hope that problem that is going to be next.
Okay. So the next question is from Devi Das. For tunable absorbers, how to choose the inductor values to isolate the RF signal from DC signal for the entire tunable frequency range?
Yeah, okay. And in page 38, where the inductors placed in the fabricated structures. Okay. I think, yeah, both the questions, thanks, Dr. Divyas. One thing is that, yeah, page 38, yes. So here we are putting the RF choke or the inductor at the bottom surface. So top surface, you can put any one. There is no harm. Either you can put in the top layer or you can put in the bottom layer. So top layer we didn't put, we put in the bottom layer before connecting there. So there you can put the simple the inductor. Now second thing is that how you are going to choose the inductor value. So now here particularly is that if you the inductor, so particularly generally the low frequency, the inductors are used for the wide. Inductors are particularly giving the band stop type response, so high impedance for wide frequency range. So you have to check the inductors, like if you can consider that suppose there is any inductor is there, that inductor has a self-resonant frequency. What do you mean by the self-resonant frequency? That any inductor when you are using, that inductor has some metal casing, and based on that inductor itself value and the metal casing capacitor, that inductor is resonating at some particular frequency. At that frequency, inductor is behaving as a band stop response or high impedance, and it is blocking the alternating signal. So we have to find a particular inductor which have a self-resonant frequency around the frequency of operation. So suppose we have to consider that here the frequency of operation is 1 gigahertz to 3.5 gigahertz. So that means we have to block the geometry from 1 to 3.5 gigahertz. So then you can use one single inductor which can have the self-resonant frequency around 2 gigahertz, and generally in the lower frequency inductor have the broadband response. So if you use the 2 gigahertz self-resonant frequency type of inductor, it can block the signal entire from 0.1 to 3.4 gigahertz. But if you go for the higher frequency, inductor slowly giving some narrowband response instead of the broadband. So if you are talking about the 8 gigahertz, 7 gigahertz or 10 gigahertz, so then you cannot use one single inductor. Then you have to use the multiple number of inductors you have to use to control or to block the signals. So that you have to check. Sometimes another problem is that sometimes whatever the inductor you are purchasing, whatever the data sheet is giving, particularly you are going to purchase the inductor from different companies like DigiKey, Mauser or Element 14 or any companies, the inductor, whatever the self-resonant frequency is given in the data sheet from where you are purchasing, sometimes it is not actual the one, or it is not the actual one, not the perfect one after the measurement. So what we have done in our lab, what we have done initially, that we have purchased some inductors, we have checked the inductors in the transmission line model, and then only we have which inductor suitable for which type of geometries. So if you are going to work on this type of reconfigure lasers, so I suggest you the first check the inductors or capacitor in the transmission line model, check the values, and then you move forward before putting them in the final geometry.
So next question is from Nikunj. What is the difference between FSS and metamaterial?
Yeah, so many faculties or many professors are saying different cases. For my, like according to my perspective, metamaterial has the two concepts. One is the 3-dimensional metamaterial, one is the 2-dimensional metamaterial. 2-dimensional metamaterials are also known as the 2D metasurfaces. Like the metamaterials you can consider in X direction periodic, Y direction periodic, Z direction periodic. But when it is only periodic in the X and Y direction and Z direction is aperiodic, so then is known as the metasurface. Now the metasurface has a, but the metasurface always holds all the properties of metamaterial. Like it has the wavelength should be that unit cell size should be less than the lambda by 4. It has the effective impedance, effective permittivity, effective permeability, and so on. But on the other side, frequency selective surface is also periodic in the 2-dimensional, but it does not have any type of restrictions. Like it does not have any restriction about the lambda by 4 concept. It doesn't have any restriction of the being effective permittivity or effective permeability and so on. So what in my classification is that metasurface, particularly not the metamaterial, metasurface is a subpart or the subset of the frequency selective surface. Metasurface also, when you are changing the patterns, you are changing the dimensions or anything, you are also getting the absorption response based on whether it is the lambda by 4 or lambda by 5 and so on. But even if but on the other side, frequency selective surface also, you are changing the frequency based on getting the frequency changing based on the patterns based on the many things. But in the frequency selective surface, there is no restriction. So there, and also the frequency electric surface, you can consider this as a three-dimensional. That is also known as the frequency electric surface and so on. So therefore, and metamaterial, there are so many properties are there. Only you are using the metasurface properties for making the absorber or filter or polarizer. So those properties are very much similar to the FSS. So mostly we are considering, you can consider that the metasurface is a subset of the frequency electric surface in terms of the frequency selectivity or in terms of the basic configuration. But obviously the metamaterial, particularly three-dimensional metamaterials or metamaterial based on the acoustic metamaterial, mechanically material, they have the no direct connection with the frequency electric surface and so on. Okay. So I hope this is the perspective of my thing, but there are many defined concepts are coming up with other cases.
Okay, sir. So the next question is from Yogesh. Is there any technique to design wideband absorber without diode, focusing on aircraft absorber 8 to 12 gigahertz?
Okay, diode is not used for the wideband absorber. Diode is used for the switchable concept. If you close, actually, since I'm mostly going to focus on the reconfigurable thing, as Manish has suggested me to on the, so diode is mostly not used for the broadband. So if you see, closely look here, I think there are so many faculty, professors, researchers in India also who have made the broadband absorber, like including IIT Kanpur group, including IIT Kharagpur group. There are so many like IIIT Jabalpur also. There are many faculties are there who have made different type of broadband absorber. So broadband absorbers or wideband absorbers, they can made from the lamp resistors or the resistive sheet or the resistive pent. Particularly, there are two types of broadband absorber. If you can consider electrically excitable or magnetically excitable. Magnetically excitable broadband absorbers also there. There you can use some magnetically absorbable broadband geometry or concept you can use, that you do not need any diodes, any lamp resistor, anything. You simply consider one magnetic permeability thing which is giving absorption for a large frequency, and you can use it. But you can come to the electrical excitation broadband absorber. There you need some ohmic loss, because FR4 or the dielectric loss is not sufficient. So here the FR4 loss is there. So then the ohmic loss is more important. How to include the ohmic loss? There you have the defined option. You can use the lamp resistor, that is one option. But sometimes lamp resistor has a little bit difficulty in using the outdoor application. Then you can use the resistive sheet. You can also use the resistive pent or in such a way. So there are different things, as I told you, there are so many, and also many professors or many faculty researchers, they are working on different types of materials, composite materials to make the broadband absorbers. They are also falling either in the composite material category or electrical or magnetic category. So there are different ways. So including like that IIIT Jabalpur, Kharagpur, IIT Roorkee, Kanpur, there are so many faculties are there, professors are there who are working on wideband absorbers. I think you can go through the literature, you can find those things.
Okay, sir. I'm taking next question. Could you suggest any reference book for equivalent circuit?
I have no idea about that, but what I have tried to understand, like you can go through the Monk book. So in the Monk book, there are so many things are there. But at the same time, I suggest all of you to go through the surface current distribution and you go through the equivalent circuit modeling of the simple geometries. Okay, so the simple geometries many researchers have done. So we go through them, you understand them, and slowly you have to understand. So sometimes what is happening that if any geometry, the geometry is simple, like most of the geometry I've shown here, most of the geometry are very simple, like square loop, cross dipole, or similar like that, or cross dipole geometry in these cases, slot based geometries. So you just resimulate those geometry by yourself, and you check the surface current distribution, and you yourself understand that what should be the equivalent circuit model. Okay, so whatever I have shown you the analysis part, you can do the analysis part by yourself only. There is no harm in the analysis part, and you can find the analysis part and you can do those cases by yourself only, and you can make those cases by yourself. But I don't think that there is some particular book in the equivalence. At least I do not have such knowledge in that case.
Okay, sir. The next question is from Saguna. Is fabrication of FSS possible in India?
FSS, yes, everyone is fabricating. Like FSS is that nothing but the periodic geometry made on FSS is fabrication, right? Whatever people are told.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is about the periodic geometry, and it has been made on a dielectric substrate. So here you can see all the structures we have shown here. So here all the geometries are shown. So this is one absorber you can consider. So here you have that generally that FR4 substrate is available, and FR4 substrate copper clad is available in both the sides. So then you have to go for the etching part. Etching part can be done in different ways. You can go for the photochemical etching. You can go for the laser etching. You can go for different type of etching. And based on that, first you have to design the pattern. When you design the pattern, software like either using the AFSS, CST, FECO, I3D, and so on. After once your design is done, you can make a Gerber file. I think you can go through the internet, and there are one option is that you can go through your lab or different type of institutes lab who have the fabrication facility. Many institute can help you in that fabrication with a nominal cost. And if you cannot find the institute, there are different companies are available. I think one of the good companies is PCB Power. PCB Power. It is the Gujarat or Ahmedabad based company. They used to give you the different type of, they can use to fabricate, and they can give you the geometries. Now the diode soldering or the registration soldering, that is little bit critical, but that company used to do also, that PCB Power company, but we used to do it manually. But recently some pick and place company like manufacturing equipments are also there, which you can also use to put or mount the diodes in a particular point. So that is also come up recently.
So one of my question is, sir, what kind of challenges we will face in designing of active FSS and absorber for millimeter wave band?
First thing is that for millimeter wave, the main disadvantage is that these type of diodes are not going to work on millimeter wave. Most of the structures you have shown, what I have shown, they are working till like I have shown you initially. During my PhD research also, like most of the works are from my PhD. So there also we have started to work, and initially we have started working on the 8 gigahertz, 10 gigahertz, and so on, or the 7-8 gigahertz and so on. But after few months or weeks, we have found that maybe the diodes are very difficult to work on the 8, 10, 12 gigahertz. And maybe it's better to reduce our work in the lower frequency. So that's why we slowly scale down our work in the 1 gigahertz, 4 gigahertz, up to 5 gigahertz. Second problem is with the inductor also. Wideband inductor, you can find the lower frequency, but not in the higher frequency. Okay, so that's why in the higher frequency, if you could go, mostly in the X band, K band, Q band, there are some diodes are there. You can use the diodes. But at the same time, you have to also purchase the inductors also there. But their wideband inductors are very much unavailable. You have to use the narrowband inductors and narrowband diodes also for that purpose. And as far as I remember, their name S-pin diode, not the normal pin diode, S-pin diode. S-pin diode is mostly working in the higher frequency, not in the millimeter wave, but in the higher frequency, like the Q band, K band, you can check on that cases. But in the terahertz, people are not using diode concept. You have to use some different concept for that cases. S-pin diode you can try, I don't know, maybe up to 40 gigahertz you can try with the S-pin diode, but at the same time the diode is extremely costly, and you have to go with the narrowband inductors or the costly inductors also, and those cases should be there. So first point is the availability of the diodes and the relatable things. Second part is that if you get those cases, or if the cost doesn't matter, or if the availability is there, so then the next target is that you have to make the biasing configurations. So whenever you are going for the biasing configuration, or you have to embed the biasing configuration, or you have to put the bias in particular way, or the biasing lines you have to design. So both the cases you have to make very much careful. So those cases you have to make. And then third option is that the challenge is that the substrates. The case is the FR4 or the normal FR4 substrates, they are like obviously commercially available low cost, but it is available in the lower frequency. You cannot use the FR4 substrate at 40 gigahertz, 50 gigahertz. You have to use RT Druid or Taconic or this type of substrates. And now RT Druid, Taconic substrates are costly. You use a small antenna, fine, but if you are making the periodic structures on RT Druid, it is very much costly. So there, one temporary solution is that instead of making a too close to periodic dimension, you can use the waveguide for measurement setup, or you can use the one-dimensional array for waveguide measurement. Parallel plate waveguide measurement setup is also there. You can use the parallel plate waveguide measurement setup to reduce the cost little bit. But obviously, cost will be another thing in that case. So you have to take care of that. Okay. And last point is that the fabric measurement issue. Obviously, in India, there are very limited amount of VNA you will get. Network analyzer, mostly they are available at the higher frequency up to 70 gigahertz. You will get, at least not in your institute, you will get other institute, or at least many institute I know that they have the 40, 50, 60 gigahertz VNA. But the anechoic chamber, it is very hard to find above 30 gigahertz. So there are very limited amount of academic institute where you will get. So you have to approach to DRDO, ISTO, or BARC or SAMIR for that cases. I think these
Thank you,
are the
sir.
major
Yes.
challenges for myself. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now I would like to
Hello,
thank our webinar.
Manish sir, I have a question. Can I ask?
Okay.
Sir, my name is Varun Chaudhary. Sir, I have a little query about miniaturization. Sir, you talk about the method to miniaturize by reducing the unit cell by SIW or using the lumped element, and the result
Yes.
will be the resonant frequency will come to a smaller value. Is that right, sir? No?
Yes.
Sir, sir, when we use high permittivity substrate, like the substrate value, the permittivity value of FR4 is 4.4, but if we use a high permittivity value of a substrate having high permittivity value, then also the resonant come to lower frequency. So that is this also miniaturization or not?
Yeah, exactly. Good point. So first one, let me clarify you again. So here, although this reference has shown both SIW and LAMP capacitor to miniaturize, but later we have found that the SIW contribution is very less as compared to the LAMP capacitor. So if any view that SIW contribution is very less as compared to, it is although giving higher inductance, but the contribution is completely less as compared to the LAMP capacitance. But although they are tried these cases as I've described. Second point is that for your case, yes, the permittivity, if you increase the permittivity, obviously your frequency will be decreased significantly. Like the lambda G you can consider is equal to lambda by 2 over epsilon r. So frequency will be decreased of the order of 2 over epsilon r. But then again, you are going to get limited by the permittivity material of the dielectric. So you need to get the high dielectric permittivity. But the high dielectric permittivity, the low cost or commercial available, that is hard to find. And now again you have to consider that how you are going to find that value, like the 2B periodic structures, like RT2, the Rogers some substrates are there which has the permittivity of 10 or something, but how you are going to get the large Rogers substrate, that is very difficult. Like the low cost is very difficult. That is the problem. So sometimes that's why we do not used to go in the Rogers substrate, or you do not used to go on the substrate variation. Instead we come to the you can consider come to the pattern control actually. Another option is that you can also increase the size. Okay, you can increase the substrate height. So if you have more and more substrate, you can that also you can go. But also then if you increase the substrate height, then it will be becoming the heavyweight. So then again you are losing the power. That is the downside.
Sir, I have a last question. Sir, there is a confusion regarding the absorber and polarization converter. Sometimes the geometry looks like an absorber, but it seems to be a polarization converter. So how can, by looking to the geometry, can we tell that the particular geometry is a absorber or a polarization converter? Yeah,
thanks, Barun. Actually, the same problem we have also suffered during our initial days of PhD research. Okay, so what happened at that time, we didn't know much about how to, because we had the, like our IIT Kanpur group was the almost like starting group in that case, absorber thing. Dr. Somak Bhattacharya is there, and after that there are so many researchers have come up, but also then like going through their literature, we also found that the mistakes are there. The first thing is that by rule of thumb is that if the structure is 4-4 symmetric, then the structure will be polar. Generally, it is not going to be the polar. It will not be the rotator mostly. It will be the absorber or some other geometry. Like here, you can see any of this geometry you can consider. Any of the geometry, all are 4-4 symmetric. Why 4-4 symmetric? What does the 4-4 symmetric? That if divide the structure in the
if you rotate 90 degree, it will be same.
Exactly. So that means if the electric field is coming at any polarization, if the electric field is coming in the 45 degree, so then you can divide the electric field in the X and Y, and then it has the two similar quadrant. Electric field will give the similar response for the two quadrant. So then it cannot be behave as a polarizer. Why? Because in that case, this single structure cannot behave as a polarizer, because then electric field either X or Y polarization, everything will be giving the similar response. It cannot rotate. So that's why if this is a 4-4 symmetric structure, so then you cannot consider this is a polarization rotator or something. It might be a absorber, or it might be a, you can filter or something. But
Sir,
if the structure is not,
yes, sir. Sir, in one of your slide, you have used a geometry where the unit tile size is different, like this. This particular
that's what I'm
slide
trying
number
to
16.
say.
Yes, sir. Yes.
But
yes.
yeah, but this structure, this is a
Yes.
asymmetric structure. It is only
Sir.
going to work for when the electric field is in the vertical direction. So for
Yes, sir.
this structure, although we know that this is a absorber structure, but we should check the polarization converter or cross polarization effect for this geometry also.
Yes, sir.
You might know that, okay, it might not be a polarization rotator, because for polarization rotator also that you need a diagonal element. At least there should be, like if there are multi-layer, so then at least one layer should be there which is able to rotate the geometry, rotate the
Okay.
polarization from EX to UI or UI to EX. So here also you can see there is no diagonal element is present, or there is no such element is available from here, which you can find that, okay, it is rotating. So here you can also see this, you can also tell that this is not a polarization rotator. But for this type of geometry, for the sake of the clarity, or maybe for our verification purpose, let's do the cross polarization checking before
Yes, sir.
finalization.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Thank
so
you, sir.
that is the thing we are doing since last 3-4 years.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you, sir. I hope you all enjoyed this amazing presentation. I would like to thank our webinar speaker, Dr. Saptarshi Ghosh, sir, for enlightening us with their knowledge. Today's webinar was full of knowledge and interesting things. It gave deep insight into the topic and also revealed some interesting facts. I am pretty sure that the precious knowledge that Dr. Saptarshi Ghosh, sir, gave us will definitely help us in our studies and future. Now, I would like to request our branch counselor, Dr. Manoj Singh Parihar, to give a vote of thanks to Dr. Saptarshi Ghosh, sir.
Hello. So thank you, Dr. Ghosh, such a wonderful and very informative talk. Really, I think all participants enjoy a lot this informative talk, right? Because you covered all the things from the basics of, basic FSS, like passive FSS to, tunable or reconfigurable kind of, or a switchable FSS. Then you covered most advanced, like reflective intelligence surfaces. So this is very, advanced kind of things students can work on. Okay, so we'll get idea. All students may get idea to work on this, to extend this study on this FSS. And it's very useful topic, I think Dr. Ghosh has covered, right? So there's a lot of thanks to Dr. Ghosh to accept our invitation and to deliver such a wonderful talk. Thank you very much, Dr. Ghosh. And if you have any question, I request participants, if you have any question further, in future, you can just contact him if you have any doubt or any query regarding this FSS. And I congratulate this student branch or this student chapter for organizing such a wonderful event. And thanks everyone, all participants and all officers there of MTTS and this student branch. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for Dr. Ghosh. You take care.
Yeah,
Okay.
please, you do.
It's such a tough time.
Thanks. Yeah,
okay.
thanks.
And all participants, I request to take care of yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
So, yeah, can we close the meeting?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Please.
Okay.
Yes,
So thank you
yes.
very much. Thank you very much.